Sophie Langley had always been known as the perfect daughter. Poised, polite, and painfully aware of appearances. Her family's mansion was immaculate, her school record impeccable, and her social calendar filled with charity galas and high-profile brunches. But today, as she adjusted the strap of her dress in the mirror, she felt a flutter of nerves that no amount of manicured polish could fix. Because today, she was bringing home Ethan. Ethan, with his easy smile and messy hair, had the audacity to be charming, intelligent, and utterly non-conforming to the Langley standard of wealth and prestige. He was broke. Not trust fund broke, not saving for a summer trip broke, but genuinely working 2 jobs to make rent broke. And Sophie's inner thoughts were already screaming in panic. Please, Dad, don't ask about his job. Don't ask about the rent. Don't ask if he can even afford your caviar. She pressed her hands to her cheeks and forced a smile. He's nice, Dad. You'll love him. Her reflection raised an eyebrow. Yeah, Dad's going to love him. Until he finds out Ethan can't even afford an actual car payment. Sophie shook her head. Breathe. Smile. Don't ruin it. Ethan arrived early, holding a bouquet of flowers that looked like they'd been scavenged from a local market rather than a boutique florist. He grinned at her, oblivious to the nervous tension radiating off her. You ready? He asked, tossing the flowers into her arms. Sophie nodded, muttering under her breath. Don't say anything about your job. Don't say anything about your student loans. Just survive dinner without dying of embarrassment. They pulled into the driveway of the Langley estate, and Sophie's stomach dropped. The family was already gathered in the foyer, her parents, a few siblings, and the house manager, all wearing expressions ranging from polite curiosity to thinly veiled judgment. Darling, her mother exclaimed, rushing to greet them. And you must be Ethan. How lovely to meet you. Ethan bowed awkwardly. It's nice to meet you, ma'am. Sophie's inner voice groaned. Ma'am? Seriously? He's not on trial, Mom. Her father, ever the imposing figure in a tailored suit, extended a hand. So you're the one she's been seeing? His smile didn't reach his eyes. Tell me, Ethan, what do you do for a living? Sophie froze, heart thudding. The inner voice panicked instantly. Abort. Abort. Please don't ask about his job. He's broke. He's living off instant noodles. And somehow the words came out. Not in her mind, but aloud, audible to everyone in the room. Please, Dad, don't ask about his job. He's broke. The room went silent. Ethan's jaw dropped. Her mother gasped. One of her younger siblings snickered. Her father blinked once, then stared at her with a mixture of shock and incredulity. Well, her father said slowly, choosing words carefully. I see. Sophie's face burned hotter than the oven in the kitchen. I didn't say that, she stammered, panic rising. Her mother covered her mouth, trying not to laugh. Oh, my dear. Ethan, to her relief, laughed nervously, stepping forward. It's fine. Honestly. No judgment here. Sophie's inner voice muttered bitterly. Great. Now he thinks I'm insane. And Dad thinks he's some charity case. The rest of the family leaned in, curious, amused, and a little scandalized, clearly sensing this dinner was about to get interesting. Sophie could only bite her lip, take a shaky breath, and hope that somehow, Ethan's charm would survive the coming chaos. And as she led him toward the dining room, she whispered under her breath, Please let this night end without further public humiliation. The Langley mansion was even more intimidating up close than Sophie remembered from her childhood. Crystal chandeliers reflected the evening light, and every surface gleamed so brightly she worried she might accidentally blind someone with a misplaced elbow. Sophie's inner voice groaned. Remember, this is Ethan's first impression. Don't let him trip over the rug or spill wine on the Persian carpet. He is one step away from instant family exile. Ethan, on the other hand, strolled in like the mansion was a modest apartment. He marveled at the artwork, nudging Sophie gently. Are these originals? Yes, she whispered. Yes. Originals. And worth more than your student loans combined. Don't touch anything. Her mother greeted them at the foyer, her smile almost surgically perfect. Darling. So happy to meet you, Ethan. Sophie has told us so much about you. Sophie winced. Please, Mom, not so much. Her inner voice couldn't contain itself, and the words slipped out faintly but audibly. And none of it's true, except he's nice. And broke. Her mother's smile faltered for half a second before she recovered, glancing at Ethan with raised eyebrows. Ethan, thankfully, laughed politely. Ah. Nice to meet you, Mrs. Langley. Her father stood a few steps behind, arms crossed, observing like a hawk. So, Ethan, he began, voice deep and measured, tell me about your career ambitions. Sophie's stomach dropped. No. Abort question. Remember the words from last night. Don't. And, inevitably it happened. Her inner voice flared again, louder this time. Please, Dad, he's broke. Really broke. Ethan froze. Sophie's face turned red enough to rival a tomato. Her father blinked, clearly processing what had just been broadcast. Her mother hid her chuckle behind a perfectly manicured hand. One of her younger siblings snorted audibly. Oh, her father said slowly. I see. Sophie wanted the floor to swallow her whole. I didn't say that, she stammered, hands flying in a futile gesture of denial. Ethan, surprisingly calm, leaned slightly toward her. It's fine, he whispered, giving her a small smile that calmed some of her panic. We can survive this. Her inner voice muttered bitterly. Survive? This is a diplomatic disaster. Dinner was announced, and Sophie led the way to the grand dining room. The table was a masterpiece of elegance, complete with sparkling silverware and crystal glasses that could double as magnifying lenses. Ethan's eyes widened. This is impressive, he said, lowering his voice. Sophie whispered back. Impressive is fine. Don't say anything about rent or your car or your student loans. Just breathe. Her younger brother leaned forward conspiratorially. So, Ethan, what do you actually do? Sophie froze. Oh no, don't ask. Abort. Before she could stop herself, a thought slipped. He's not rich. Please don't judge him. Her brother stared. Ethan blinked, trying to parse the sudden honesty. Sophie buried her face in her hands. Her inner voice whispered, we are doomed. Absolutely doomed. Her mother, trying to maintain composure, said, well, honesty is a virtue, darling. Sophie's inner thoughts muttered, not when it's about your dating life and my entire social reputation. Ethan, to her relief, chuckled softly. Honestly, I appreciate it, he said. No pretenses. Sophie peeked at him, stunned. Wait. He's not angry? Oh no, her inner voice countered. He's charming. He's actually charming. Which somehow makes this worse because now everyone will like him and I'll look insane. And so the first impressions were made, not quite as planned, but undeniably memorable. Sophie just hoped the chaos had reached its peak. Little did she know, the night was only getting started. Sophie led Ethan to his seat at the long gleaming dining table, trying desperately to ignore the nervous flutter in her stomach. Candles flickered, silverware shined, and the Langley family sat like statues, poised and intimidating. Okay, Sophie, her inner voice groaned. You can do this. Just smile, nod, and don't think. Think and you explode like a mental popcorn machine. Dinner began with polite chatter. Sophie's mother complimented Ethan's attire, her younger siblings asked about his hobbies, and her father made subtle observations about his posture and manners. Everything seemed to be going okay, until Sophie's inner thoughts decided otherwise. Don't spill the soup. Don't knock over the water glass. Don't talk about money. But before she could stop it, a thought slipped out loud. Please, don't ask about the student loans. He's paying in installments and I feel personally responsible. The room froze. Ethan blinked. Sophie's father's eyes widened. Her mother stifled a gasp. Even the house cat, perched on a windowsill, seemed to pause and glare. Okay, her father said cautiously, voice tight. Noted. Sophie's inner voice muttered bitterly. Noted. Like I just announced we're plotting a financial apocalypse. Her younger brother, feeling mischievous, leaned forward. So, Ethan, are you like, unemployed or just, financially challenged? Sophie's inner thoughts reacted instantly. He has a job. Don't say, financially challenged. But it was too late. Ethan, attempting to answer politely, tripped over Sophie's inner voice as it leaked out again. He's got 3 jobs. 3. And one of them involves dressing as a giant hot dog. Ethan's face went red. Sophie's hand shot up to her mouth. I didn't say that. Her inner voice sighed dramatically. Oh, fantastic. Now he looks like a carnival attraction. The family is going to revoke my social license. Her father coughed, trying to suppress laughter. A hot dog costume? He asked, bewildered. Yes, Ethan admitted, half smiling despite the awkwardness. It's temporary, but it pays the bills. Sophie groaned inwardly. And this is why I can't have nice things. Her mother, ever the diplomat, leaned in. Well, at least he's industrious, resourceful, and adaptable. Sophie's inner thoughts snarked. Resourceful? We're talking about a man who moonlights as a hot dog in Times Square. Adaptable? Try desperate. Dinner continued, a tense mixture of polite laughter, awkward glances, and Sophie's accidental inner commentary. Every thought she had, about Ethan, the family, or the inevitable social fallout, seemed to broadcast like a live microphone. Please stop judging him. Stop judging me. Why did I agree to this dinner? Why does the soup smell like judgment? Ethan, remarkably, kept smiling. He reached across the table to hand Sophie the breadbasket, whispering, Don't worry. I can handle it. Sophie blinked, her inner voice softening slightly. He's actually handling it. Calm, collected, somehow charming under fire. This is catastrophic. I can't be proud, it's embarrassing. Her father raised an eyebrow. I must say, Ethan, your confidence is impressive. Sophie muttered under her breath. Confidence? He's surviving a verbal minefield I set up with my thoughts. That's not confidence, that's sheer luck. By dessert, the family had settled into a rhythm of curious observation. Sophie's inner voice continued to spill occasional commentary, revealing embarrassing truths and quirky thoughts. But somehow, the family was slowly warming up to Ethan. Perhaps it was his charm, or perhaps it was the sheer chaos of Sophie's mind spilling into the room. Either way, Sophie knew one thing for certain. Dinner was far from over, and her thoughts were far from under control. And somewhere deep in her brain, a tiny voice whispered, Brace yourself, Sophie. The real chaos starts with dessert. The dessert plates had barely touched the table before Sophie's father cleared his throat, his gaze sharp and unyielding. Sophie, he said slowly, every word deliberate, I think it's time we have a little discussion. Sophie froze. Oh no. Here it comes. The Inquisition. The trial. The social execution. Ethan, seated beside her, looked at her with mild concern. Sophie reached out and squeezed his hand, whispering, Just smile and pretend I didn't just broadcast a monologue about your finances. Her inner voice snorted. Pretend? Pretend you're a social disaster zone? Brilliant strategy, Sophie. Her father gestured toward Ethan. Young man, I must ask, what are your intentions with my daughter? And be honest, please. Sophie's inner thoughts flared in panic. Honest? He's going to say something normal and boring, and they'll crucify him for being normal. Or worse, poor. Ethan cleared his throat. I care for Sophie, he said calmly. I want to be there for her, support her, and treat her well. Sophie felt a faint surge of pride, until her inner voice chimed in. Support her? Huh. I mean, he does the dishes when I nag him enough. Her father's eyes narrowed. Support her. How exactly? Sophie groaned inwardly. Abort. Abort. My thoughts are literal landmines. Ethan stammered. Well, emotionally? And financially, I mean, I'm working on it. I have jobs. Several jobs. Sophie's inner voice exploded. 3 jobs. One of which involves a hot dog costume, and yes, it's humiliating, but it pays the rent. Her father blinked. A hot dog costume? Sophie buried her face in her hands. You're ruining this. All of it. I am a disaster. Ethan, to her shock, laughed. Yes, sir. It's unconventional, but it's honest work. And I've learned a lot from it. Sophie peeked at him. Wait. He's not embarrassed? Not defensive? Her father's stern expression softened just a fraction. Well, I suppose honesty counts for something. But Sophie, you must understand, we worry about appearances. Sophie's inner voice groaned. Worry about appearances? Oh, perfect. The world's judgmental gaze has official approval. She took a deep breath and tried to salvage the moment. Dad, she said carefully, I know Ethan isn't rich, but he's kind, responsible, and genuinely cares about people. Isn't that more important than money? Her father's eyes flicked to Ethan, then back to her. Kindness is admirable. But this is a family that values standing in society. I hope you realize the challenges, financial, social, and familial. Sophie's inner thoughts whispered. Challenges? You mean he's going to survive the Langley family gauntlet without losing his sanity? Good luck with that, buddy. Ethan spoke up, calm and steady. I understand the challenges, sir. I don't expect to impress anyone overnight. But I do expect to treat Sophie with respect and honesty. And I hope that's enough to start. Sophie's father paused, studied Ethan for a long moment, and then exhaled. Perhaps we shall see. Her inner voice, relieved but still dramatic, murmured, We shall see? That's like saying, you survived the fire, but don't touch the curtains. The family stared, tense but intrigued. Sophie realized something remarkable. Despite the chaos of her spilled thoughts, Ethan's sincerity was piercing through the judgment. Her inner voice softened, almost in awe. Okay. Maybe he really is worth it. Please don't ruin it with dessert, brain. Her mother, sensing a moment to diffuse tension, clapped her hands lightly. Well, I think dessert will cheer everyone up. Sophie, Ethan, why don't you tell us a little about your favorite childhood memory while we enjoy some cake? Sophie exchanged a glance with Ethan. He smiled reassuringly. We can survive this. Together. And for the first time that evening, Sophie felt a tiny spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, her chaotic inner thoughts weren't going to completely ruin her relationship, or the dinner. The dessert plates had barely been cleared when Ethan leaned back in his chair, a thoughtful look crossing his face. Sophie, still reeling from the earlier inner thought disasters, watched him carefully. Okay. Ethan. Please be charming. Please be human. Please don't mention the hot dog again, her inner voice muttered. Ethan cleared his throat. Sophie told me a lot about this family, he began, looking around the room. But I've realized tonight that there's something special here. Not just wealth or appearances, but the way you all care for one another. Sophie's inner thoughts betrayed her disbelief. Did he just say something genuine? Amid the chaos? Her father raised an eyebrow, skeptical but curious. Care for one another? That's an interesting observation, Ethan. Yes, sir, Ethan said. Even with all the teasing, judgment, and occasional loud thoughts, he added with a small wry smile towards Sophie, I can see that family loyalty runs deep. And I respect that immensely. Sophie felt a flush of pride and embarrassment, her inner voice muttering. Okay, fine. He's charming, but now my brain is officially useless. Everyone's going to like him. And I look like the crazy daughter. Her younger brother, trying to lighten the tension, asked, So, Ethan, are you going to tell us anything interesting about yourself? Or should we wait for the hot dog performance? Ethan laughed, easy and self-assured. Well, that's one side of me, he said. But there's more. I volunteer at the community center on weekends. I help kids with tutoring and sports. I also teach a coding class online. And I'm saving up to start a small business, a sustainable coffee shop. Sophie blinked. Wait. Did my inner voice hear that? Did it just leak out that I'm impressed? Her inner thought squealed. OMG, he's amazing. And poor. And perfect. And I'm going to die from embarrassment. Her mother's eyes softened. That is impressive, Ethan. You're contributing to the community and pursuing your goals. That says a lot about your character. Her father leaned back, steepling his fingers. Character matters. Very well, continue. Sophie's inner voice whispered quietly, almost in awe, he's winning them over. And I can't even stop thinking about it. Ethan continued, telling stories of the kids he helped, the challenges of starting a business, and even a funny mishap involving a coding lesson that ended in a minor chaos, but one that revealed his patience and ingenuity. The family listened, genuinely intrigued, their earlier judgment softening. Sophie noticed her father nodding slowly, her mother smiling approvingly, and even her younger siblings leaning in, caught by Ethan's sincerity. Her inner voice murmured, stunned. He's actually charming everyone. I can't compete with this level of decency. Then, in a moment of vulnerability, Ethan turned to Sophie. You know, he said softly, I know I don't come from money, and I know your family values status. But I promise I'll always be honest with you. I'll support you, make you laugh, and stand by you. Even when your brain says things out loud that embarrass both of us. Sophie blinked, caught off guard. Her inner voice, usually sarcastic and frantic, whispered with rare warmth, Wow. Did he just get my inner thoughts? And not run away? Her mother cleared her throat, a faint smile on her lips. Well, honesty does have its merits. Perhaps there's more to this young man than we initially thought. Sophie's father added, his tone thoughtful. It seems, integrity counts for something. I still reserve judgment, but I see promise here. Sophie exhaled quietly, relief flooding her. Ethan had not only survived her family's scrutiny but had begun to win them over with his character. And in the process, he had shown Sophie that being genuine, even when your inner thoughts are unpredictable, was far more powerful than pretense. Her inner voice whispered, finally calm. Okay. He's a keeper. Don't blow it. Please don't blow it. Sophie glanced at Ethan, their hands brushing under the table. He smiled reassuringly, and she realized something profound. Honesty, courage, and a little chaos could sometimes be the perfect combination for love. And for the first time that night, Sophie felt that maybe, just maybe, everything was going to be okay. The night's dinner had ended, but the Langley mansion was far from calm. Sophie had excused herself to check on Ethan, who was tidying up the aftermath of dessert with a quiet grace that made her heart flutter, and her inner voice sigh in admiration. Meanwhile, the family gathered in the study, whispering and exchanging looks that ranged from curiosity to outright disbelief. Well, Sophie's older sister said, arms crossed, I must admit, Ethan is different. But different isn't always a good thing. Her younger brother smirked. Different is an understatement. He survived Mom's scrutiny, Dad's interrogation, and Sophie's, whatever that was. The running commentary in her head? Hilarious, by the way. Sophie's mother tried to mediate. I think we should consider the whole picture. Yes, he's not wealthy, but he's honest, hardworking, and clearly cares for Sophie. Her father leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers. Honest, yes. But this, inner thought broadcasting disaster? Sophie's tendency to reveal every embarrassing detail could complicate things. Her older sister's eyes narrowed. Exactly. Do we want someone in the family who's a walking commentary box? I mean, we barely managed the hot dog costume revelation. Her father nodded. It's a concern. Still, the boy shows remarkable character. He's composed, resilient, and seems genuinely committed to Sophie. That counts for something. Her younger brother chuckled. Commitment is great and all, but let's be real, he's broke. And this family isn't exactly known for, how should I say, embracing financial instability. Her mother raised a finger. Financial instability is not the same as lack of ambition or integrity. Ethan has plans. He's actively working toward a stable future, and he's shown incredible resilience tonight. That's more than some of our acquaintances could manage. Sophie's father rubbed his chin thoughtfully. Yes, but Sophie's openness. It's a liability in social situations. If we're considering him seriously, he must be able to withstand not just her inner thoughts but the scrutiny of this family and our social circle. Her older sister huffed. So basically, he has to survive Sophie's brain, us, and every luncheon in the city. Easy. Her father smiled faintly. Precisely. Meanwhile, Sophie, still hovering near Ethan in the kitchen, whispered, They're talking about you. I think it's good. Ethan laughed softly. If good means my life just got reviewed by a panel of experts, then yes, it's excellent. Sophie's inner voice groaned. Excellent. As in scrutinized, dissected, and critiqued. Exactly what I signed us up for. Back in the study, the conversation turned quieter. Sophie's father leaned forward, his voice measured. I don't deny that Ethan has impressed me tonight. His kindness, work ethic, and honesty are clear. But Sophie's behavior, well, the accidental revelations, complicate matters. We must proceed with caution. Her mother nodded. Agreed. But perhaps this is an opportunity. Sophie's unfiltered honesty has, oddly enough, revealed his true character. We should observe carefully, yes, but not dismiss him outright. Her older sister muttered. Fine. But if Sophie's thoughts start broadcasting again, someone needs a mute button. Her father chuckled, a rare softness in his stern expression. Indeed. But perhaps the chaos isn't entirely unwelcome. Tonight, Ethan has shown resilience, and Sophie has, well, she's Sophie. Perhaps the two of them complement each other in ways we cannot yet fully comprehend. Her younger brother leaned back in his chair, still smirking. So we're saying he survives. Barely. Her father's eyes twinkled. Survives, yes. But there is more to him than we anticipated. That may be enough for now. Sophie and Ethan's private moment. Later, Sophie and Ethan returned to the quiet of the living room. Sophie sank into the sofa, burying her face in her hands. That was terrifying, her inner voice whispered. But he survived. Somehow he actually survived. Ethan sat beside her, gently brushing a strand of hair from her face. You did great tonight, he said. Your thoughts? Well, they made it interesting, but I think your family saw my heart. And that matters more than anything else. Sophie peeked at him. Even if my brain nearly got you exiled? He smiled. Even then. Honestly, I wouldn't trade tonight for anything. I've never met anyone like you, and I think that's exactly why this is worth it. Her inner voice sighed in relief. He's amazing. And he's mine. Chaos and all. And for the first time that night, Sophie allowed herself to relax. The family might have been skeptical, judgmental, and easily scandalized, but Ethan had begun to prove himself. And Sophie realized that navigating family drama might just be worth it if it meant keeping him by her side. The morning after the infamous dinner, Sophie wandered through the Langley estate gardens, still feeling the lingering embarrassment of her inner thoughts being broadcasted. Even with Ethan by her side, she couldn't shake the memory of her father raising an eyebrow at the hot dog costume revelation or her siblings whispering behind their hands. Why did my brain betray me like that? Her inner voice grumbled. I'm a social disaster wrapped in a dress. Ethan took her hand gently. Hey, he said, squeezing it reassuringly. You can't control everything, Sophie. You're human. And honestly, I think your family saw the real you tonight. That's not a bad thing. Sophie muttered under her breath. Real me? More like unfiltered nuclear disaster. Later that afternoon, Sophie's father requested a private audience in the study. Sophie entered, her heart racing. Ethan had excused himself politely, knowing this was her family's moment to interrogate her alone. Sit, her father said, gesturing to a chair opposite him. Sophie, we need to discuss your choices. Her inner voice immediately panicked. Choices? You mean dating a broke hot dog costume-wearing man? Choices? Really? I understand, father, Sophie began cautiously, that Ethan is unconventional. But he is kind, intelligent, and honest. Isn't that what truly matters? Her father steepled his fingers. In theory, yes. But this is the Langley family. Our reputation, our social standing, and our traditions. They matter. You're choosing love over tradition. I hope you understand the consequences. Sophie's inner thoughts flared. Consequences? You mean endless judgment, gossip, and humiliating dinner parties? She took a deep breath, pushing past the panic. Father, I love Ethan. And I refuse to hide my happiness, or my thoughts, just to satisfy appearances. If being honest, even chaotic, is a problem, then perhaps it's time the family adapts to reality rather than forcing me to conform. Her father stared, surprised by her confidence. Good grief, she's finally standing up to me. He thought silently. Her inner voice whispered proudly. Finally! About time we had a backbone. Her mother appeared then, standing quietly behind her father. Sophie has a point, she said. We raised a daughter who values honesty and integrity. Isn't it time we respect that, even if it disrupts tradition? Sophie blinked. Mom actually agrees with me? This isn't a dream. Her father exhaled slowly, rubbing his temples. You leave me little choice. I may not fully understand or approve yet, but I cannot deny the boy's character. And Sophie, your determination is commendable. Perhaps tradition can bend slightly. Sophie's inner voice did a victorious little cheer. Yes. Victory. Chaos finally has leverage. Later that evening, Sophie convened a family meeting, including her skeptical siblings. Ethan had returned, calm and confident. Sophie began, addressing each of them directly. I know I've embarrassed myself, us, more than once, she admitted, glancing at her inner voice for comic support. Not helpful right now. But Ethan has shown you all who he is. Not through money, appearances, or social polish, but through honesty, kindness, and integrity. Her older sister frowned. You're really defending him? After all the chaos? Yes, Sophie said firmly. Because he's good. And I will not compromise my happiness for appearances. If the family can't accept that, then that's the problem, not him. Her inner thoughts whispered, finally speaking truth. Like a mini rebellion. But with love. Ethan added softly, I understand this is unconventional. And I respect your family's values. But I'm here for Sophie sincerely, and I hope that's enough for you to see my intentions. Her mother smiled, proud. It is. And it should be enough. Her father nodded, finally letting a faint smile slip. Very well. Sophie has made her choice. And while it may bend our traditions, it also teaches us something valuable. Honesty, courage, and love cannot, and should not, be suppressed. Sophie's inner voice erupted with triumphant relief. We did it. I survived tradition and my brain. By the end of the evening, the family had begun to accept Ethan, not without humor, teasing, or a few lingering judgments, but with genuine respect for his character and Sophie's determination. Sophie realized that standing up for love and truth was far more rewarding than bending to appearances. And as Ethan took her hand, she whispered internally, chaos and all, we're unstoppable together. The following weekend, Sophie and Ethan returned to the Langley estate for a casual family brunch, a less formal setting, but still fraught with potential disaster for Sophie's unpredictable inner voice. She had warned Ethan, no mistakes, no slip-ups. Just survive brunch. Yeah, right, her inner voice groaned. Because surviving dinner was such a triumph. Ethan entered the kitchen with a warm smile, carrying a tray of pastries. Relax, he whispered. This is going to be fine. I've survived a hot dog costume, a mental monologue, and the Langley judgment. Brunch is practically a vacation. Sophie muttered under her breath. A vacation? My brain is a ticking social bomb. As they approached the dining area, the family was already gathered, chatting lightly. Her father raised an eyebrow. Ethan, I hope your pastries are as impressive as your character, he said dryly. Ethan grinned. They're homemade, sir. Imperfect but sincere. Sophie's inner voice whispered proudly. Finally, honesty without embarrassment. Small victory. The brunch started with light conversation, and for once, Sophie's inner voice was mostly cooperative, until her father mentioned a local charity event. So, Ethan, he said casually, I hear you volunteer at the community center? Sophie felt the familiar panic rising. Oh no. Here it comes. Don't. But Ethan answered calmly. Yes, sir. I help kids with tutoring, coaching sports, and teaching basic coding skills. Some of the kids face tough circumstances, and I try to give them guidance and support where I can. Sophie's inner thoughts leaked out faintly, and he does it without whining, complaining, or expecting a medal. Unlike certain people I know. Her father blinked, then smiled faintly. I see. Admirable. Her mother leaned forward, impressed. And you've managed all this alongside your work? That requires dedication. Ethan nodded. It's challenging, but rewarding. I believe in helping others, and it gives me perspective. Sophie's inner voice whispered, almost reverently. Perspective. He's remarkable. He's everything I feared he wouldn't be. Then her younger brother, curious and teasing, asked, and the hot dog costume? Still part of the community service. Ethan chuckled. No, that was temporary. But it taught me resilience, humility, and how to stay cheerful under pressure. Sophie's inner voice couldn't resist commenting. Cheerful under pressure. Survived my brain. How is this human allowed to exist? Her father, watching Ethan handle the teasing with grace, nodded thoughtfully. I must admit he is composed. Resourceful. and seems genuinely committed to Sophie. Sophie exhaled quietly. Finally. Approval. Or at least, cautious respect. The turning point came when a minor accident occurred. A tray of orange juice slipped, threatening to spill across the table. Ethan acted instantly, catching it mid-air, preventing disaster, and calmly reassuring everyone. Her mother clapped lightly. See? Quick thinking and composure. This boy has potential. Sophie's inner thoughts whispered. Quick thinking, graceful under pressure. I think I'm falling more in love. Her father finally smiled, a rare warmth in his eyes. Very well. Ethan, you've proven yourself tonight. Your character, integrity, and calm under pressure speak louder than any wealth or social status. I believe you may be acceptable as my daughter's companion. Sophie's inner voice danced with triumph. Accepted. Finally. We survived tradition's scrutiny and my brain. Victory is ours. Even her skeptical siblings exchanged impressed glances. The family tension, though still playful and teasing, had finally shifted in Ethan's favor. Sophie looked at him across the table, smiling. You did it, she whispered. Ethan winked. We did it. Together. And in that moment, Sophie realized something profound. Honesty, courage, and authenticity, even when messy, could not only survive her family's judgment but could also win their respect. Her inner voice, usually chaotic and unpredictable, seemed almost calm, like it had finally aligned with reality. Maybe, we're unstoppable together, it whispered proudly. The following week, Sophie returned home to the Langley estate with Ethan by her side. The house, once filled with tense whispers and veiled glances, now seemed warmer, lighter. Even her siblings, who had previously whispered and smirked at every minor slip, greeted Ethan with genuine smiles. Sophie's inner voice marveled. Miracles do happen. Or maybe chaos just finally got tired of me. Her mother met them in the foyer. Sophie, Ethan, it's lovely to see you both, she said warmly. Dinner and brunch may have been eventful, but I think we can finally say we understand each other better. Sophie blinked. Understand? After the hot dog costume? The running commentary? But Ethan's reassuring smile reminded her that he was more than capable of navigating the chaos. Her father appeared behind her mother, nodding slightly. Ethan, I must admit, you've shown resilience, integrity, and patience beyond expectation. Sophie's choice, while unconventional, seems to be justified. Sophie's inner voice did a small victory dance. Justified. Praise. Acceptance. And we didn't even need a public scandal this time. Her older sister smiled faintly. I suppose I misjudged you, Ethan. You've handled Sophie's quirks admirably. Her younger brother leaned forward, grinning, and survived my teasing, which is basically a rite of passage. Ethan chuckled. I'm learning to survive everything at this point. Sophie, finally feeling a sense of peace, took a deep breath. Thank you, everyone, for giving him a chance. I know my thoughts can be unpredictable, she said, glancing at her inner voice like it was a mischievous child, but Ethan has shown that honesty, even when messy, can work. Her inner voice whispered softly. Yeah, messy, unpredictable, slightly insane, but we're winning. We're actually winning. Later, the family gathered in the garden for tea. Laughter replaced judgment, teasing replaced criticism, and the playful chaos that had once threatened Sophie's relationship had softened into something almost charming. Her father watched Ethan carefully, nodding approvingly. You've shown yourself capable of not just surviving the family, but of thriving within it. That's no small feat. Ethan smiled. I hope to continue earning that trust every day. Sophie's mother added, It's clear you care deeply for our daughter. And that matters more than any convention, expectation, or appearance. Her inner voice whispered in satisfaction. Finally. Approval. And it's real. Even her siblings had softened, some teasing her gently about her overactive inner commentary, but all in good humor. Sophie realized that what had once been a liability, her inability to hide her thoughts, had indirectly helped Ethan prove himself. Sophie turned to Ethan, hand in his. You really did it, she whispered. We did it, he replied, squeezing her hand. Together. Sophie smiled, a sense of triumph washing over her. Her inner voice, usually frantic, chaotic and sarcastic, now felt almost playful, as if celebrating quietly alongside her. Chaos survived, love survived, and we survived each other's quirks. We're unstoppable. And for the first time in a long while, Sophie felt that inner harmony, the balance of honesty, love, and family acceptance. She realized that being true to herself, even when it led to awkward or funny moments, was worth every anxious thought and misstep. Brunch turned into laughter-filled stories, shared memories, and even a few light-hearted debates. Sophie and Ethan moved among the family naturally. No more awkwardness, no more inner thought leaks causing tension, just genuine connection. Sophie's inner voice whispered one final thought. This is what victory feels like. Messy, chaotic, and perfect. The next Sunday, the Langley estate buzzed with unusual energy. Sophie had insisted on hosting a small celebratory gathering, a mix of family, close friends, and neighbors, to formally introduce Ethan as her chosen partner. Celebratory? Her inner voice groaned. After the last 10 disasters, this is ambitious, brave, slightly insane. All of the above. Ethan, calm and collected, adjusted his tie. Relax, he said, offering a reassuring smile. Tonight's just another opportunity to survive. And charm. Sophie rolled her eyes. Charm, right. My brain just might betray us anyway. The guests arrived, some whispering and exchanging glances, aware of the prior dinner chaos and brunch revelations. But instead of judgment, the atmosphere was light, curious, and surprisingly welcoming. Her father, standing near the grand staircase, cleared his throat. Welcome, everyone. Tonight, we celebrate Sophie's choice, and acknowledge that unconventional paths sometimes lead to the best outcomes. Her mother added warmly, we've all learned something remarkable, that character, integrity, and honesty can outweigh tradition, appearances, and even chaos. Sophie's inner voice whispered in delight. Finally. Someone gets it. Chaos rewarded, not punished. Ethan stepped forward. His demeanor confident yet humble. I know I haven't exactly had a traditional introduction to this family, he said with a light chuckle, but I hope to show that love, honesty, and a bit of humor can go a long way. And that I truly care for Sophie. The room broke into warm applause. Sophie felt a thrill of pride and relief. Ethan had not only survived her inner thoughts and her family's scrutiny, but he had also won them over completely. Even her siblings, who had teased relentlessly in the past, now smiled approvingly. Her older sister nudged her, whispering, okay, he's actually decent. And charming. Don't blow it. Sophie's inner voice muttered. Decent, charming. I almost like him more than I like my sanity. Almost. As the evening progressed, laughter and conversation flowed freely. Stories of past family mishaps were shared, sometimes with Sophie's inner thoughts accidentally slipping out. But now, instead of judgment, the family laughed, embracing the unpredictability as part of Sophie's charm. They finally get it. Her inner voice cheered. Chaos is just another form of entertainment. At one point, Sophie caught Ethan's eye across the room. He winked and whispered, see? You and your thoughts are kind of endearing. Her inner voice groaned dramatically. Endearing? I'm catastrophic. But okay. I'll take it. Dinner concluded with a toast. Her father raised a glass, a rare warmth in his voice. To Sophie and Ethan, may your honesty, courage, and love continue to grow, and may our family embrace the unexpected as gracefully as they can. Her mother added, smiling, to family, love, and the chaos that binds us together. Sophie and Ethan clinked glasses, sharing a quiet moment amidst the laughter and chatter. We did it, Sophie whispered. We did, Ethan replied, holding her hand. Chaos and all. Her inner voice, finally calm and playful rather than frantic, whispered proudly. Love survived, family survived, and I survived my own brain. Unstoppable. Absolutely unstoppable. The evening ended with laughter, dancing, and small stories of mishaps past and present. Sophie's inner thoughts, once a source of embarrassment and panic, had become part of the family's charm. They were no longer a liability but a quirky reminder of honesty, resilience, and the unpredictable beauty of life. As Sophie leaned against Ethan, watching her family interact and laugh together, she felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She realized that love, honesty, and a willingness to embrace chaos were far more valuable than appearances or tradition. Chaos and all, her inner voice mused. This is perfection. And with that, Sophie Langley, chaotic thoughts, unabashed honesty, and all, finally felt truly at home. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more original novel stories. And stay tuned, our next story is coming soon.